they been cramping my style all week. Craving chocolate treats, checking pants, checking seeds, sipping herbal tea and fight for menstrual equity. Jeez, man, I kick cramps ass. 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 You're now tuned in to the Kick Cramps Ass podcast with your host, Brittany Walker, advocating for menstrual equity, period poverty, and womb wellness. New episodes on Menstruation Mondays.
Hello, welcome everybody to the Kick Cramps Ass podcast, where I'm your host, Brittany Walker. You've made it to Season 2, Episode 23, where we'll be talking about sustaining your physical wellness for National Wellness Month. All right, guys, so happy Menstruation Monday. It is Monday, August 26, 2024, and we are still celebrating National Wellness Month for August. So we've been talking about all the different wellness components all month long, and since we made it to the final week of August, we're going to wrap it up with physical wellness. All right, guys. Now, you know we like to kick off each episode with the I am power statement. I representing inspiration, A representing affirmations, and M representing manifestations. And the I am power statement for today is I am comprehending various ways to incorporate and sustain my physical wellness. Ashe. So there it is. You know, we also like to give a quote of the day. And today's is exercise is the key not only to physical health, but to peace of mind. And that's by Nelson Mandela. All right, guys. Now we're going to go ahead and take a quick sip of this good old cramp elixir, and we're going to cut to a commercial break, and we'll be right back with you. Have you tried our bestseller, the Cramp Elixir? It's our herbal tea blend designed to reduce and eliminate menstrual cramps, PMS symptoms, and other uterine health issues that are hindering your day-to-day progress. Our elixir may decrease inflammation, reduce stress and anxiety, regulate blood flow, balance your mood, and it can kick cramps ass. It includes a variety of herbs including hibiscus, red raspberry leaf, calendula, motherwort, ashwagandha, plus more. Head over to kickcrampsass.org and grab yours today. Now, back to the show. Welcome back from that commercial break, guys. We hope that you enjoyed it. So again, National Wellness Month for the month of August. We started off week 1 talking about emotional wellness. Week 2, we did spiritual wellness. Last week, we did mental. And then this week, we're going to wrap up with physical, all right? So National Wellness Month is catering to all 4 of those wellness components, all right, guys? So let's talk about what exactly is physical wellness. Most people think it's just exercise, all right, guys? And it's a little bit more than that. So physical wellness is a state of physical health that allows people to perform daily activities with undue fatigue or additional physical stress. It might also involve a variety of healthy behaviors that can improve overall quality of life and potentially reduce the risk of illness. Now, these behaviors of physical wellness include physical activity. This is the one that most people think that physical wellness is just about. All right. And physical activity is keeping the heart, muscles, bones strong enough for movement. So we're aiding in mobility. We're aiding in life longevity. We're making sure that we're moving the body daily. All right, guys. So not just sitting in the chair in your office, not at the cubicle at the job, not just on the couch, being a couch potato, watching TV and binge watching, your latest reality show or Netflix show, but actually getting up and having some consistent movement throughout the day. Another behavior of physical wellness is your nutrition. Now, we've talked about nutrition each wellness component, but it really falls under your physical health, and it just contributes to your emotional, your mental, and your spiritual states. All right. Now, nutrition provides the body with the nutrient that it needs to function well. We've discussed with you guys how important it is to have complex carbs in your body, which is a macronutrient, along with the protein, healthy fats, and water. And why do we need complex carbs? Because they give the body energy. They help with the brain functionality of the body, and they help with the blood circulation in the body. And if we're not giving that body those complex carbs, then we have to use our proteins and use our healthy fats for that energy, when the body actually needs protein, fats, and water for other things than just energy. So we talked about before, the keto diet is something we do not recommend, because 10 to 20 years from now, you may start experiencing issues with your memory, brain functionality. There has been the onset of dementia and Alzheimer's. So we want to be mindful of those things, that your body actually needs complex carbs, not simple carbs, which are all the processed foods, the sweets, the added sugars, things of that sort, but complex carbs. So that's whole grains, oats, sweet potatoes, legumes, beans, chickpeas, lentils, those type things. All right, guys. So we'll get into more of that in a bit. Another behavior of physical wellness is your sleep pattern. Getting enough sleep helps the body repair itself and prepare for the next day. Now, we have talked about sleep in the past couple of weeks, how it contributes to emotional wellness, it contributes to mental wellness, but it's actually a part of your physical wellness. All right. So it is important to have a minimum of 7 hours of sleep daily. Your body needs time to restore. You will hear people say, YOLO, you only live once. Keep going, just burn that body out. And it's not conducive for your body if you consistently burn it out, not add the nutrients that it needs, not add the hydration that it needs, and that can cause ailments to appear within the body later on in life. All right. Another behavior of physical wellness is stress management. Finding ways to relax and relieve stress is so essential. We've also talked about that in past weeks, on how limiting your stress, participating in activities that really you're passionate about or that you love to do, things that you don't get to do all the time because of the busyness of life. So engaging in those activities are great. And also other helpful activities like journaling, meditating, speaking with a professional that's in the mental health or physical health worlds. All right, guys. So eliminating stress, too much stress can negatively affect your health. So we want to be mindful of that. Another component of physical health is health checkups. Catching health issues early can make them easier to treat. So you'll hear people recommending that it's important for you to get your annual physical. It's important for you, if you feel an ailment is coming on or something is different going on with your body, going to seek a professional for help to figure out what's going on. I am also a firm believer of doctoring on yourself and making sure that you can figure out what's going on. If you realize that, hey, maybe this cycle I was a little bit more bloated, taking a review of the last 30 days or even 60 days of what you had going on. Were you highly stressed? Were you eating differently? Did you incorporate more fried foods? Did you drink a little bit more alcohol and caffeine this time around? Did you switch out sexual partners? Did you have more sex? Did you have less sex? Things of those sorts. All of that contributes to your health. So you can then kind of start, not kind of, but you can then start looking into what things that have changed in your life that could be contributing to those things. And then that way you have actual details and information that you can give your physician when you do go in for that checkup. And then lastly, a behavior of physical wellness is learning about disease prevention. So developing healthy habits that can help people live longer and happier lives. So life longevity, like we said not too long ago, knowing what can prevent diseases. For instance, we have been giving you guys so many different things that you need to avoid to have better periods. So that's disease prevention, preventing menorrhagia, heavy blood flow, preventing dysmenorrhea, heavy menstrual cramps, preventing fibroids, endometriosis, infertility. We're coming up on September, so PCOS month, polycystic ovary syndrome. These are things that once we know what could be the cause of these or things that we could do to try to prevent and eliminate them, we need to take heed to those recommendations. So for instance, if you have horrible menstrual cycles, we're going to tell you avoiding meat is super important because of the added steroids and chemicals that they add into the meat. We'll tell you to omit dairy because of the ingredients that are within the dairy that contribute to the womb having an adverse effect. All right, guys, we'll tell you to limit caffeine, to limit alcohol, Pay attention to the products that you're using, making sure you're not using products full of chemicals and toxins, whether that's your menstrual hygiene products, whether that's your deodorant, your toothpaste, your moisturizer, your soap, your laundry detergent, your toilet paper. So again, knowing about prevention opportunities and then actually implementing those changes. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about stats when it comes to physical wellness. Now, according to rxresource.org in 2024, less than 5% of adults participate in 30 minutes of physical activity each day. Only 1 in 3 adults receive the recommended amount of physical activity each week. 1 in 3 adults, guys. There are billions, billions of people in the world, and only 1 in 3 adults are actually proactively practicing daily activity. And when you hear physical activity, people think, oh, I don't want to go to the gym and work out. I don't want to weight lift. I don't want to go run miles. You don't have to do that. There are so many other activities that you could do. Simply walking around your neighborhood. If you live in an apartment complex, looping the complex a couple of times, going to the local park and taking a walk. You can go swim. You can go to the mall and walk around. You can go to the grocery store and walk around. You can jog, then walk, jog, then walk. You can build up to the physical activity that you desire to get to. You can go cycling. There's so many different things that you can do. You can go dancing. And then if all else fails, you don't have to do any of that. You can go on YouTube and get in the privacy of your own home, get on a tablet, a TV, a phone, or something, and pull up a dance video, pull up a workout video, pull up something that you could be comfortable doing, keeping up with the pace and building your endurance along the way. And you don't have to have anybody there to compare yourself to or compete with or anything, just focusing on yourself. All right, guys? Now, only 1 in 3 children are physically active every day. That disheartens me. 1 in 3 kids. I grew up in a world, being an 80s baby. I grew up in a world where kids take their asses outside and they go play. It's as simple as that. You go outside and you play. And I know that with the way that the world is now, you have pedophiles and creeps and all these abusers, and you want to be mindful of those things. So go outside with your kids. That's one thing. Go play with your kids. Make sure they have a friend group, cousins, something that they can engage with. But kids should be physical all the time. And it's not saying that you have to put your kid in a sport. They might not like sports. They might love art. They might love, music. They might like acting, building, like textual designs and games and things of that sort. They might be a trivia person. Whatever that kid is, you might want to work physical activities around what they like to do, or build a physical activity that you could do with your child, with your niece, your nephew, your grandchild, your godchild, whatever that kid may mean to you, with you being like a guardian to that child. Figure out what you could do with them, and then you both can participate in healthy activities and physical activities. It disheartens me that there's so many obese kids in the world, and people don't want to recognize it's because of how the United States portrays food, how we eat certain food, the amounts of food that we take in, the types of food that we take in. People used to laugh when I was younger and say, hey, don't drink Mountain Dew, don't drink Squirt, don't eat McDonald's. It's going to cause you to have steroids. Your kids are going to grow up quick. Your son's going to be 8 years old with a deep voice. Your young daughter's going to be 10 and developing breast already. Things of that sort. They're going to be having their periods early. And if you look up and look into what's the youngest age that young women have periods now, is now starting at the age of 7. And with research, it's proving that it's coming from the steroids, from the processed foods, the fast foods, things of that sort. So these are things that we have to be mindful of, guys. Now, another stat. Children now spend more than 7.5 hours a day in front of a screen. That's TV, mobile devices, video games, computers. 7.5 hours a child on average spends in front of a screen. Guys, we have to get our kids more active, because why? If we don't get them active when they're younger, they're not going to develop those positive habits when they become adults. And that's going to lead to more obesity, which we have learned in the United States that obesity is the gateway drug to all other chronic illnesses. All right, guys. So we want to try to eliminate that. Eliminating obesity, eliminating the lack of physical activity can increase life longevity and help prevent and eliminate future ailments. All right. Now, another stat, only 35 to 44% of adults that are 75 years or older are physically active. And 28 to 34% of adults 65 through 74 are physically active. Those are low numbers, guys. That's under half of the population. Under half of the population. Another stat, more than 80% of adults do not meet the guidelines for both aerobic and muscle strengthening activities. So that's anaerobic. And more than 80% of adolescents do not do enough aerobic physical activity to meet the guidelines for you. So that's like cardio activities. And we're going to go into more details, the difference between anaerobic and aerobic in a little bit. All right, guys. And then our last stat, nationally in the United States, 25.6% of individuals with a disability reported being physically inactive during a usual week, compared to a 12.8% of those without a disability. So things can happen. You could sprain your wrist. You can come up. You could be diagnosed with the illness. Something can happen that can affect your physical health. However, there are still opportunities for you to rebuild that. Of course, if you have a physical disability, that you might go to physical therapy and they'll help train you and restore your body back to having mobility in that area that you might have lost. All right. However, you have individuals that we have chair yoga now. We have exercises that you could do if you're in a wheelchair. We have exercises that you could do if you have back issues, knee issues, ankle, wrist, things of that sort. So at the end of the day, there's no excuses why physical activity cannot come into play. And I know, being a formerly disabled person, somebody that has been diagnosed several times, with mental issues, physical issues, things of that sort, and how that can take a toll on you. You can fall into depression. You can get anxious, stressed out, frustrated, annoyed with not being able to do what you've been able to do in prior years. All right, guys. But once you get over that hump and you have those human emotions, it is imperative to get back up on that pedestal and keep going and fighting for your physical health in order for you to have life longevity. All right. Now, some signs of negative impact of your physical wellness. If you start feeling overly stressed, you might notice that your back starts hurting. Your head starts hurting. You might start getting migraines. You might start noticing that you have stomach aches or pains. For instance, I used to have irritable bowel syndrome, which is IBS. Originally, the doctors told me, oh, your IBS gets inflamed when you get really stressed out. It's almost like you're bottling up your emotions and you don't know how to release them. And that's affecting your bowels and that's affecting your colon. And so instead of saying, hey, stop doing this or stop doing that, I was still being given medication, of course, by the physicians. But then I was told, like, you need to try to figure out how you can eliminate stress. And I was diagnosed with IBS, guys, when I was in the 10th grade. I was 15 going on 16 years old when I was first diagnosed. So I'm in high school. I'm a teenager. Now, at that time, I was overcoming a miscarriage. I was overcoming being raped. I was overcoming a lot of different life issues. Losing my grandfather the day after my 15th birthday, engaging in drugs and alcohol, trying to overcome the issues I was having with being a lesbian, but trying to sustain in an overly religious Southern family. It was just a lot going on. So I can understand why I was so stressed out in high school. Then being a stellar student, I was taking a lot of honors classes, started taking college courses in my high school. So it was just a lot going on, being an athlete, being a cheerleader, being on track, being in all these different clubs, then having to be very proactive and present in the clergy at my church. It was just a lot to take on. And so when I look back at it, I'm like, okay, I understand why you were stressed the hell out. But most people think you're in high school, you shouldn't worry about anything. You don't have bills, you don't have this. But yes, a high schooler can be stressed out. All right. So other signs of negative impact on your physical wellness includes muscle tension. So that goes to how we were saying, like, your back can start hurting. You might start feeling achiness in certain parts of your body. You might have sleep deprivation. So you might have insomnia. You'll start noticing that you either sleep a lot or you don't sleep enough. Insomnia tends to be the more frequent symptom you might see that might be a negative impact on physical wellness, but also sleeping too much can also be a sign of negative impact on your physical wellness. Dizziness. So I mentioned about having migraines earlier. You can also get dizziness, and that could be from the tension of the stress in your body. It just seems like your veins are popping out. Everything's just tense, and that can lead to dizziness. The presence of ailments we mentioned earlier. Once you start having ailments happen in the body, if you're getting the fruit, my apologies, if you're getting the flu frequently, if you notice that each time the seasons change, you just get really, really sick, it might be because your immune system's weakened. All right. You might notice that you're diagnosed with diabetes, or you might have a recurring ankle injury, things of that sort. So these are things we want to be mindful of. Once we have a diagnosis or a presence of ailments, it could be the lack of not having adequate physical wellness, or also not having adequate mental, emotional, or spiritual wellness. All right, guys, because we have to remember, in order to have optimal wellness, it's all four components. Now, you might also experience joint issues, posture issues. You might notice that when you're confident and when you're happy and things of that sort, most people tend to sit up. Their chest is up, their shoulders are back. They're just more confident. But then if you notice somebody that's depressed or sad, they tend to slouch and lean over. It's like a lack of confidence that they start showing. So we want to be mindful of those things. Shortness of breath. You might notice that it's hard for you to catch your breath. You used to going up and down like one flight of stairs to go to your apartment building, but then you notice over time that it's kind of hard to do that one flight now. What's going on? And then lastly, another negative sign that your physical wellness may be impacted is that you have a loss of sexual desire, or you don't have the ability to have sexual intercourse. So maybe you're used to having a consistency in your sexual activity, and then you notice that it's a drop. You notice that you just don't have the desire to do it as much. You can even be during your ovulating phase, which we know that that's the phase for us menstruators where we feel like we're glowing, we're beautiful, we're extra sensual, we're extra sexy, and we're ready for it, right? And if you notice even during that time that you don't have a desire to want to have sex, if you're, with a partner, if you're married, if you're engaging in like masturbation, if you're just not interested in any of those things, that could be a sign that your physical wellness is being tampered with. All right, guys. Now, we talked about the signs of negative impact on physical wellness, but let's talk about the signs of optimal physical wellness. So typically you wake up feeling refreshed, you're strong, you're happy. It's a really good sign, right? You also have a healthy weight. You're not fluctuating, like dropping a lot of weight, gaining a lot of weight, going up and down in drastic numbers. It's very common that you might go up and down 1 or 2 pounds week over week. But if you're gaining like 10 or 15 pounds and then you're losing 20 pounds and then you're gaining, that is a sign of unhealthy unhealthy physical wellness. Also having a strong immunity. So having a strong immune system. You can get up and let's say you might feel a little frog in your throat. You drink some tea, you drink some water, you go on about your day, you're feeling great. But if your immune system is not strong, that frog can then linger to a scratchy throat. That scratchy throat then leads to a cough. That cough then leads to you losing your voice. And the next thing you know, you're sick for the next 2 weeks. So be mindful of how your body reacts to things. I am a firm believer of paying attention to when the seasons change. I had allergies, acute allergitis when I was younger. And so I would always have really, really bad allergies when the seasons would change. Like my mom was already prepared, like as we're coming out of spring into summer or fall into winter, like Brittany's going to get sick. So let's go ahead and start making sure I have everything I need to be prepared for that. And I no longer have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about, oh my God, the seasons change. I'm about to be sick for the next 2 weeks. That is something that is a beautiful thing because I actually dealt with that the first 35 years I was alive, the first 35 years. And now I don't have to deal with that anymore. And then having radiant, healthy skin. That is so important. So important. I always have people ask me, what's your foundation? What do you use on your skin? Water, water, healthy organic soap, and a healthy moisturizer. I used to have like a whole face regimen doing like serums and all this other stuff. And I really don't have to do that anymore because if you're contributing to your wellness in all the different components, then your skin is going to radiate. When you go out in the sun and the glow, if people say, oh my God, you have a natural glow about you, like what's going on? People might think that you're ovulating. People might think that you're pregnant, and it's not the case. It's just that you have a healthy body. All right. Another sign of of optimal physical wellness is having normal heart and brain function. So your heart's not skipping a beat, your heart's not speeding up all the time. You're not having brain fogs or brain farts, what people like to call them. Your short-term memory is on point. You are not having issues balancing hormones, or you're having chemical reactions in the body that's causing you to have mood swings. So that's very important. No signs of ailments. That is like one of the biggest things. No signs of ailments. So if you've been diagnosed with something, or like if, for instance, you could be diagnosed with pre-diabetic, or something along those lines. Once you can reverse or prevent those, or not have any signs of any ailments altogether, that is a sign of optimal physical wellness. And then lastly, for menstruators only, regular menstrual cycles. If you're having 3 to 5 day cycles, no heavy bleeding, no period pain, like we mentioned before, the shedding process, people misconstrue shedding with period cramps. Shedding is uncomfortable. Period cramps is the sharp inflammation and actual pain that you feel. So again, having regular cycles, bloating's not as bad, your mood swings are not bad. Those are really great things. All right, guys. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. I know that was a mouthful. So we're going to let you marinate and sit on all of that, and we'll be right back with you. Now, navigating to our resource center, we want to give you guys access to all these complimentary resources that we have available for you. We have our blog, book suggestions, our menstrual blood chart, exercise moves to kick cramps ass. We have recipes. We have reports. We have research studies that helps to prove how holistic approaches assist with achieving wound wellness. We have wellness tips, wellness referrals, so business organizations and individuals that we would like to refer to you that are our strategic partners, wound terminology. Maybe there's some wound options that you're not aware of. This can help you out. And lastly, yoga moves to help you kick cramps ass. Feel free to take advantage of this complimentary resource. All right, guys, now back to the show. Welcome back from that commercial break. We hope that you enjoyed it. Now let's get into the different types of physical wellness. So we have cardiorespiratory endurance. Now this is also known as aerobic exercise. And most people hear aerobic and they think of like the aerobics, like stepper and all that. Yes, there are aerobics. However, that is also a type of actual physical activity. So this type of exercise can improve your stamina. All right. So this includes walking, cycling, swimming, jogging, running, hiking, skating, skateboarding, rollerblading, jump roping, dancing, stair climbing, rowing. And rowing could be like the rowing machine, or you actually rowing on a boat, playing any type of sport, and skiing. So guys, we literally just listed 14 or 15 items there for you that you can engage in. If you don't like any of these, feel free to Google. Google could be your best friend. Google what an anaerobic activity is and see the list and see what works for you. All right. Look into different opportunities that align with what you're trying to do, align with your schedule, and align with what you're physically capable of actually achieving. All right. And then we have anaerobic endurance. Now, this is short bursts of energy. This can come from like body weight exercise. So Pilates is a really good version of this. You will see that you could do Pilates with weights, but then a lot of Pilates is body weight. A lot of the weight training that I do comes from body weight, from the Pilates, all those planks, chaturanga dandasanas, all the balancing, everything that is body weight. All right. Also weightlifting. So that could be powerlifting or regular. All right. We have calisthenics, all right, guys? So very similar to almost like gymnastics. You have plyometrics. You'll hear that more for like activities and sports like basketball and things of that sort to help you with your range or jumping, things of that sort. We have HIIT training, which is known as high intensity interval training. It's something that I love to do. And most people think when you hear HIIT training, you have to do 10 rounds of 10 of something. And it doesn't have to be like that. You can start off with 3 rounds, 5. So you could just do something 5 times, stop, maybe do it for like 10 to 20 seconds at first, and then work your way up to 30 seconds, then work your way up to a minute, whatever works for you. But do something, you could just do one activity 5 times for 30 seconds. Then you stop and take a 10-second break, and then you do it again 5 more times, and then you take another 10-second break, and then you do it again. You just did 3 sets real quick. You take a 15-second break, and then you move on to your next set of exercises, and you kind of keep repeating that. And then over time, as you realize your stamina is building, your physical capabilities are getting stronger, then you are able to go up. Maybe instead of doing 3 sets, you'll do 4 sets of 5. Maybe you end up doing 5 sets of 5. Maybe you end up doing 3 sets of 10 instead of just 3 sets of 5. Maybe you might do some type of deadlifting or something in those. And maybe you're starting off with 5-pound weights, but maybe 2 or 3 months in, you go to 10-pound weights. So you just build up your endurance over time. All right, guys. Now, other muscular strength and endurance activities could be like wall sits, planks, squats. All of that is also body weight building. All right, guys. Push-ups, toe stands. You're probably thinking toe stands. Yes, that's not just a gymnastics thing. You can actually do that on your own. And not only will it help with your balance, but it helps with your legs, your glutes, your core. It just pulls everything. All right. And then we have other types of physical wellness is flexibility. So yoga, deep stretching, other forms of Pilates, that's very good for you. Most people think, oh, cardio, cardio, cardio. Having some cardio, having some anaerobic, which is muscle building, having flexibility is important, but also having balancing. Tai Chi, Pilates, yoga can help with that as well. So those are the 4 that we're always going to recommend. Do some type of cardio, do some type of muscle strength, some type of flexibility, some type of balancing. And throughout the week, 6 days a week, all right, guys? Yoga and Pilates typically every day, but then before the yoga and Pilates, adding in things additional, a little bit of muscle strength building, a little bit of swimming, a little bit of running, walking the treadmill, going cycling, walking around, just kind of incorporating all 4 of those physical wellness components, the cardio, the muscle building, the flexibility, and the balancing is so extremely important for the body overall. All right, guys. Now, physical wellness may also assist you with increasing life longevity. We talked about that earlier. I love seeing physically active senior citizens. And I don't even like to call people over 55 senior citizens. I feel like that's a little bit disrespectful to an extent, because there are so many 80-year-olds, and they say 80 years old, but they're like 80 years young. I've seen so many people just be so active over 50, 60, and 70, and it's phenomenal. Earlier in this season, we mentioned to you guys about watching Blue Zones Live to 100, where on Netflix is a documentary. Started off as a book, a research project with the executive producer and host of the series. But he ended up doing a series, and he goes into these different places within the world where individuals live to 100 years old easily. And a lot of these individuals talk about what they've eaten their whole life, the physical ability that they have. Laughter is important. Dancing is important. Relieving stress, getting good sleep. Like all the things that we're mentioning to you guys are mentioned in this documentary, which are so cool. And the one individual that stands out to me the most, and I think I used this same example on a previous podcast. However, it's an individual that was living in Mexico, and he was over 100 years old, and he had a 28-year-old son. First of all, he had his son in his 60s. So let's give kudos to that, without any IVF or any type of reproductive assistance or any fertility assistance. Was able to have his son. His son was 28, and even his son at 28 said it was still almost hard to keep up with his 100-year-old dad because he's so active. He's riding horses, he's running, he's keeping up with the ranch. It was amazing. And the fact that your 20-year-old son can tell you, like, Dad, I'm still trying to keep up with you. That was just phenomenal to me. Also, physical wellness may also assist you with decreasing your stress. So if you don't have an activity, you haven't discovered that hobby that works for you, whether journaling, meditation, breath work, things of that sort, or doing something that you really love or passionate about does not help you eliminate stress, maybe physical activity may do so. I know it helps with me. Going to go hit the treadmill for 2 miles does wonders. Going to hike 2.5 miles, doing a really intense Pilates, like 40 to 50 minutes worth, all of that. If I am feeling stressed or if it's been a really long day, I've had a lot of obstacles come my way, I like to reset with having physical activity. All right. Now, lowering your risk of disease and ailments is important. That will show you that physical wellness is working for you. It will help increase your energy. It will also help produce better sleep patterns. It will improve your mobility and your bone strength. It will also positively impact balance and coordination in your life. And it contributes to the mental, emotional, and spiritual wellness components, like we've been saying this entire time. All right, guys. Now, let's talk about tips. How can we sustain our physical wellness? That's the whole point of this episode. What is physical wellness and how do we sustain it for National Wellness Month and beyond this month? All right, guys. So, movement daily, at least 30 minutes. Exercise a minimum of 5 days per week, at least 30 minutes. But on maybe the 2 days that you're not working out, still have some type of physical movement, whether that's walking your dog, maybe that's going outside and playing with the kids, maybe that's washing your car by hand. There's so many things that you could still do to have physical movement. Going to go grocery shop, instead of putting in the order and picking up your groceries, going into the physical grocery store and walking around. Next tip for sustaining your physical health is your safe and hygienic sexual activities. Now, I've started to add sexual activity as part as a physical health and wellness activity, because you do work out while you're having sex, especially if you're having something longer than 10 to 20 minutes. You're going for an hour, you're switching positions, you're doing stuff, you're sweating, you're moving, you're contracting your abs. It is a form of physical movement. But we want to promote safe and hygienic sexual practices, because that's important to your physical health. If you're having sex with an unclean person, it could lead to STDs, HIV, or AIDS. It can lead to pregnancy, which can be another total physical wellness component you're going to then have to focus on with your body. It can also lead to, if that person does not clean properly down there, maybe if it's a woman or a female or individual that has a vagina, if they're wiping from back to front, that could be an issue. If it's a male that's not lifting up his sack and cleaning thoroughly around his balls, if he is just making sure excess skin is being clean, making sure you're pulling down all the skin around the areas and cleaning everything properly. Like, these are important. All right, guys. So we want to make sure that you're having clean and safe sex, and that won't affect your physical health. Because you might not get an STD or HIV and AIDS, but you can still get stuff like bacterial vaginosis, your urinary tract infections, UTIs. You can get yeast infections, things of that sort. You might have like a couple of bumps come up in certain areas, maybe just rubbing against skin that both of you maybe have shaved, and you're rubbing against the skin and it causes irritation with the way that your hair grew back in that area. Those are things that people don't pay attention to and think about that can really affect your physical health. All right. Another tip is nutritious and well-balanced, colorful diet from each food group. We've talked about that in past episodes. It's important to eat all the colors. Your plate should be yellow, green, red, purple, all the different food group colors, blue, everything, and incorporating that throughout your meals throughout the day. I always say throw everything in a smoothie. You can have all your colors in one smoothie. It might not be the prettiest color, but it could still taste good. All right, guys. A minimum of 7 hours of sleep daily. We talked about that earlier, how important that is. Now, having 8, 9, 10 hours, that's good for you. But if you start surpassing 12 hours of sleep, and it's becoming frequent that you're going past 12 hours of sleep, that's something we might want to be mindful of on why are you sleeping half of the day. That's important. All right, guys. Now, holding yourself accountable to keep going. It's great to have an accountability partner. It's great for somebody to have your back and push you, but it's so important for you to also do it for yourself so you could build your own confidence, be your own accountability partner, and hold yourself up to a standard that you want to meet. And there's nothing wrong with you doing that for yourself. All right, guys. And then lastly, the last tip for sustaining your physical wellness is remaining hydrated, freeing yourself of caffeine, alcohol, or beverages from concentrate or with added sugar that actually goes against the water content in your body. We need to stay hydrated. And even if you're not drinking the minimum of 8 cups a day, which is the equivalent to 4 15.9 ounce water bottles, which is the standard size water bottle, drinking 4 of those a day is what we need. But also eating foods high with water content, which are typically seeded fruits, cucumbers, watermelon, things of that sort. Those will also assist in keeping you hydrated. All right, guys. Now, how do we implement this plan of action? We've said the same plan the last few weeks, and we're going to say it again because we want you to be able to take this beyond National Wellness Month. It's not just about August. August is what we were promoting and we're advocating for. We're wanting to spread awareness, but we want you to be able to take what you've learned over the last 4 weeks through our podcast and implement them into your daily routine moving forward. So how to implement a practical wellness routine is you have to truly want it. You have to want it. And once you want it bad enough, you can start and keep up with your routine. There will be down days, especially when you're on your period or if you have something that may impact you, but you have to push through and you have to keep going. Next tip for sustaining your physical wellness routine beyond just the month of August is managing your time effectively. Factor your wellness routine into your daily, weekly, and monthly, and even yearly schedule. So if you know that, hey, I have to do this on the calendar, I have a meeting scheduled for here, I got to pick up the kids later, you want to also slide in time for you to have 30 minutes of you time, 10 minutes of breath work, 5 minutes of meditation, an hour of self-love and self-care. You want to be able to put that in for yourself. Just how everything else is a priority that's in that calendar, you need to make yourself a priority as well. Also, evaluating and updating as needed when changes happens in your schedule. That's going to help you with your time management. So when your period comes, if you have vacations coming up, if life events happen, you have a death in the family, a baby's being born, whatever may be happening, a wedding's coming up, you want to plan accordingly and plan around that life event if possible. The next tip for sustaining your wellness routine is setting smart goals for yourself. So specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely goals that you can really set benchmarks for, that you can manage properly, that you can go back and look at. Change is needed. Cross off once it's been completed, but it's important to set realistic goals for yourself and set benchmarks to ensure that you're completing those goals in a timely fashion. Next, you want to show yourself grace along the way because you may run into obstacles that will challenge your new habits that you are attempting to develop and sustain. All right, guys. So there's going to be times that you might fall off. It's going to be times that you get really aggravated and you do something that you've been comfortable doing before you started this routine. The thing is, things can happen. But it's about what do you do after those things happen? Are you able to pick yourself back up and keep going? Are you able to not beat yourself up and get in your own head about why you should not be doing something? You want to make sure that you are showing yourself grace because you have to be patient, disciplined, and focused to implement these things, guys. So you got to be patient with yourself and show yourself grace along the way. Lastly, celebrate all wins. We talked about those benchmarks. Those sub goals and sub tasks are extremely important to getting to the main goal. So you want to celebrate all those wins along the way, including your small ones, to be your own motivator and to continue to build confidence within yourself that you could truly sustain a consistent wellness routine. All right, guys. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back with you. Welcome to Kick Cramps As S2.E23.org. Now, feel free to subscribe and get 15% off. By doing so, you're subscribing to our newsletter and you'll receive the latest news, resources, and updates. We appreciate you for connecting with us, so we want to get you with 15% off on your first order. So go ahead and leave your first name, your last name, and your email address, and you'll have this 50% off coupon that you can use towards your first order. Now, back to the show. Welcome back from that commercial break. We hope that you guys enjoyed it. So to recap, we had season 2, episode 23, Sustaining Your Physical Wellness for National Wellness Month. All right, guys. So we've gone through all the wellness components for the month of August: spiritual, emotional, physical, and mental. And now, as we're exiting out the month, we hope that you take these recommendations, these tips, this education, and everything that we brought to you in order to incorporate into your own wellness routine moving forward. All right, guys. So, we have our KCA magazine we're so excited about. So be sure to check out our articles that we are dropping each week for that. And coming into the month of September, we are so excited because we are releasing our fitness and mindfulness program called Pilates for Periods. We're so excited about it, and you will learn all the details about it on our next week's episode. All right, guys. So we are still accepting listeners' mail, so feel free to comment on this episode, or if you would like a more personalized or intimate experience, feel free to email us at contact@kitkrampsass.org, which will be listed in the description of this episode. Be sure to like our podcast, share it with somebody that you feel that may resonate with it, and feel free to subscribe to our website. Not only will you get a 15% off coupon to use at our KCA store, but you will have the latest news, resources, events, and tips on everything that has to do with menstrual health. Be sure to also subscribe to our YouTube channel because we have additional content that we put on there, in addition to additional content that we'll be releasing in the future. All right, guys, it has been such a pleasure to always cater to you on this good old Menstruation Monday. So we want to send gratitude out to all of you for tuning in today, and we manifest a positive, productive, and peaceful menstruation journey ahead, wellness journey ahead. We have this good old Menstruation Monday today, the rest of the week, and we're going to finish out this month strong. All right, guys? And we can't wait to catch up with you next Monday, good old Menstruation Monday, for our next podcast episode, episode 24. If there's not anything else, we'll see you next Monday. Peace.